Welcome back, YouTubers, to my channel of an everyday life of an Aspie. If you're new to my channel, I welcome you all. I'm Aspie. I'm all about creating mental health and awareness and sharing my life stories with Asperger's syndrome and the like, along with tips along the way, be it your general health versus your mental health. I also try to advocate for people that is on the spectrum, basically on the everyday topics that we go through and what we face in our everyday lives, obviously, so that hopefully you can gain a better understanding, and also in saying this, that you'll just be able to learn and educate from each one of us, even if we are different kind of people around us. So in this time of what I'm wanting to share with you all, even though that's autism related, which I humbly apologize because this is where I roll right now, obviously, with what I share, because obviously I want to bring out as much autism series as possible for you guys of the everyday things that we encounter in our everyday lives, regardless what it may be. Some of it might be of use and value to you guys as well, so that in saying this, that hopefully we can learn and educate from each other and not feel like we're just being judged or what have you. So this one's going to be broken down to two parts of autism and perfectionism. So smash the like if you're liking some of these series that I'm bringing out. Also comment below, just say yes Aspie or hello Aspie or something, just a form of engagement. And for any one of you that, you know, goes through the ringer of trying to be perfect every single day, you know, is there a way that you have broken free from it, or is there a way that you just feel that you're just wanting just to be the way you are in it? Do you think it should be broken in a sense of just getting rid of our mentality here that we're hopeless and whatever else that may have been fed in our minds at that given moment of time? Feel free to comment below those answers to me so that we can start a discussion board. And in saying this, also basically, if you're wanting to see more of these or any other bits and pieces that I share on the channel, I usually do this on the daily Monday to Friday, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday, depending on my schedule. So feel free to subscribe if you want to be on the bandwagon to join me. And also in saying this, basically, feel free to turn on the notification bell so you can keep up to date what me of the mini Aspie's been up to. So as I said, this is going to be broken down into two parts. This is the first part, and this one's going to be autism and perfectionism. Am I perfect? So as we know, basically, it's not just the NTs that struggles with, you know, being perfect or perfectionism in this day and age. It's also us autistics, and there are many reasonings to why this is in a given moment. And obviously in this time frame also, it's a common trait for many of us autistics or people on the spectrum to feel this way of basically, you know, being perfect or this perfectionism. My experiments are based on this, obviously, of perfectionism. However, it has started at a very young age, and that this is before I obviously was diagnosed with Asperger's, and to this day I still, I'll admit, basically I try to be, you know, having that perfectionism in me, regardless what it may be, you know, of what I do in my everyday life. You know, I always had very high expectations of myself. I thought to myself I needed to attain the goals, you know, of having high grades, being in a team that will support me, regardless what it may be, in a form of a clip, be it a sports team, be it whatever it may be, and what have you. And I sometimes also had high expectations in saying this, based on this, on how and what I was performing, regardless what it may be, you know. Sometimes I felt really down and out, regardless if I didn't get a specific grade that I was aiming, striving for, and whatever. And obviously most of my life I was consumed by, obviously, especially in high school, with this, the way education system was to strive for high grades and everything else, and it was felt like a competition. And in saying this, maybe it wasn't just in high school, it was probably at the tender age when I was in the intermediate, when I was in my, like, before I hit my early teens, so maybe roughly 11, 12 years old. Basically, I felt in some ways that I had to compete, as I said, for these grades, and it wasn't very healthy for many of the times for me, based on my mentality and my, you know, physical health as well. Regardless of it all, it led to so much exhaustion and everything else, and to this point I thought to myself, was it worth getting this? But also in saying this, despite that, you know, being consumed with that competitive edge of me maintaining these grades and stuff, there was a certain change that was going on through high school or intermediate age based on where I was in New Zealand, obviously, or all around New Zealand. They obviously changed the grading system of the school curriculum to, obviously, instead of having A+ to D+ D-, they downed it down to the NCEA, or National Certificate of Education Framework, where you have the attainment, you have merit with excellence, and the like. And to this day, obviously, in saying this, for this NCEA system, it was so confusing, and many people tend to question, was it worth going to school to learn and everything else based on this grading system that was put into place. And it's still to this day also confusing for some future employers that wants to hire us based on this grading system, if they were to look into our grading system or whatever they need to do to, choose the right candidate for the right job, hearsay, and obviously there's no way about it, I feel, but then again, I guess everyone is each to their own if they wanted to educate themselves in school or whatever. In saying this though, I also tried my very darn hardest in trying to keep myself busy to stay out of trouble. Yes, many people may call me a goody good two-shoes because I tend to just mind my own business, and at other times many people may call me basically not just goody good two-shoes, but maybe to some, I may be just sitting there so comfortably on my own, sitting on my comfort seat of not wanting to take risks or whatever they were doing, just because of all the peer pressures that was going on, and still to this day maybe in high schools, to fit in and blend in, to be with the cool kids or some form of clique in this day and age, which, many people do solely think it's cool and fun. But to my question is, what is cool and fun when you're in these cliques? Because obviously some of the people that I look at today, no judging, I've seen them that it has made them turn out to the way they are, be it some has done their time, some may have excelled and actually done well by, working hard, getting a job, keeping a job down, going away on holidays and married and whatever else it may be. I admit I'm still a little bit of a perfectionist, as I said, to this day. I'm now beginning and learning to let go of some of the things that I can't control, that is beyond my control, however, of some of the situations I may face. Yes, I'll admit it's still downright hard for me to do so though, however, when it comes down to letting go. And obviously, let's be real, I'm sure that I'm not the only one that feels this way. Some days I would feel numb or some form of mixed feelings and emotions based on any of the mistakes or shortcomings I have made in the past or present. Sometimes, some days I'll get reminded about them, sometimes from other people, maybe from my past life, trying to recall of what life was all about for me and them, while I was in school or wherever I may be. Also nowadays I try to avoid myself getting to the point of getting so emotional if something doesn't go as planned, that will lead to me having those little niggling moments of my meltdowns. As the label or title or the word perfectionism basically implies here, is that the perfectionist or the person trying to be perfect are driven to do everything meticulously and flawlessly, and it's just what it means, just that. I am aware that no one is perfect, however, I am not either. If there was such a thing of everyone being perfect, then there will be no need for hatred, no need for these negative effects that comes into play, as well as all these choices we come to face and whatever else it may be. However, how I look at it, that we do, however, inevitably fail time and time again, make mistakes, and we shouldn't be hard on ourselves when we do so. Whether it's real or perceived or not, they'll emotionally pummel themselves, and sometimes it leads us to put ourselves down negatively, regardless what it may be. And the food for thought that sometimes with that negativity can be lead to this self-doubt about ourselves, that we should have done better. I am hopeless. I can't do anything right. What did I do wrong? Or I'm so stupid and incompetent, and the list goes on. The more we say some of these negativity or form of negative encouragement, shall we say, that I feel that it will just etch into our brain, and once it's etched into the brain, the more we say some of this stuff about ourselves regardless of our everyday things, the more likely we'll accept it and choose to believe it if we do so. Perfectionism does, however, have a positive and negative viable outcome towards whatever it may be. For example, those who have it are often very hard workers and put in every ounce of energy and effort into everything that they put into and they do. But as we know, that will then come at us at a cost, and at this cost, a really high cost, be it our mentality versus our physical health. In addition to health, however, in this maladaptive perfectionism can negatively affect our ability to get the work done that's given to us in a timely manner. Because obviously, for example, some perfectionists may struggle to complete the task on time because they need to get it right for the first time with no errors or mistakes in it whatsoever. So it will be time consuming. Time and time again, they'll keep, doing it until they get it right. Many also are masters at procrastination, or procrastinating, starting anything that was set and had to be done a certain way gives us the opportunity to fail. So therefore, basically, sometimes with us, with the procrastinators in the form of perfectionism, as I shared before in one of my videos of what procrastination is all about, sometimes we tend to put off certain everyday tasks, regardless what it may be, and that, we put it off to a point that will then lead to the point when there is a deadline of some kind of whatever we're doing for that given set task or duty, that we would tend to work up in a tailspin of anxiety, panic attacks, and every other downfall of that. So they'll put it off as much as they can and much as possible. For that reason alone, they may then not do the work just as well as the ones that are these maladaptive perfectionists. So you may be questioning what are the factors or the drivers for perfectionism in autism. As I've noticed, there are so many factors here, however, and I'm hoping just to share a few of them today for you to gain a better understanding. Number one is your black and white, all or nothing thinking mentality. So for many of us autistic, some of us will have the black and white thinking that there's only one set given way, and that we tend to just go about that way, even though we are trying to accept that this is the right way. It's that or nothing at all, just as it reads. Number two is attention to detail. Many autistics on the spectrum obviously will be good with picking out little faults and flaws when it comes down to attention to detail. Obviously, they'll pick up bit by bit of the errors and stuff, and this is what makes one of their unique traits stand out, and most of us stand out from the rest, obviously. Number three, social issues. Many perfectionists feel that the other will love them or only love them or view them as having, worth if they do everything right and not allow any mistakes in it for whatsoever. This can ring true also for the people on the spectrum, however, who struggles with social cues and body language and everything else based on, people accepting them for who and what they are, or vice versa, us trying to accept the other person, maybe. And in saying this, though, when a mistake is made naturally, basically, this can provoke anxiety, meltdowns, and the like of these negative feelings that we get. Number four, perseveration. People on the spectrum may get stuck on everyday certain thoughts. Okay, as a result, they may likely or are unable to stop thinking about these mistakes that have been made, which then feeds and fuels the anxiety about making any future mistakes that will arise. Number five, communication difficulties. For some autistics, as we know, they have difficulty in communicating, and in saying this, they might have difficulty in communicating in the sense of also putting themselves out there asking for help, because of this everyday struggle that makes failure even more stressful for them. 6 is change. This is extremely difficult. Difficulty to accept the change, or just the changes that are actually going about, be it a new plan or task that has to come about, that is given and set out for us, regardless what it may be. And we need to envision ourselves how to finish and what it looks like and whatever else without the help of others around us. Lateral thinking. Some autistics may take language literally, and obviously some of this I'll link in the description of some bits that I'm saying about, like maybe the characteristics of an autistic versus basically some of the other things like change, literal thinking, and the like, in the description box below, so that you can have a lowdown of what it is, or even I'll try my best to link most of them up on the card above me so that you guys can know what I'm talking about. But in saying this though, you know, when someone wants a task to be done as precisely as we can, obviously we tend to take it literal from what a perspective, what I'm meaning here. And maybe a classic example, a boss is giving us a task and he said, this is the way I want it done this way, you know, just giving us set instructions and whatnot, and hope for the best that, you know, we stick and adhere to it. Pros and cons of a perfectionist is the last bit of the segment before I break off to you today. Is the pros, that many autistics are optimistic. Number 2, they take pride in what we do. Number 4, we're careful with our belongings no matter what, so therefore obviously some of the belongings were, you know, really precise on how to look after our everyday tools or whatever it may be that we take pride in, basically. 5 is high grades in school and performance are set high, obviously. 6, we don't break the rules, basically, as we stick to what we know and, you know, obey these rules regardless what they are. So therefore we are obviously constantly just feeding ourselves the same routine and habits over and over again based on this. The cons here is 1, sometimes some autistics may have difficulty of people touching their belongings. 2 is start something. Obviously for some autistics it may mean that it will take so much energy out of us to do a set given task that will then lead to these meltdowns and anxieties, as I shared before. Number 5 is avoiding competitions. So some of us autistics may be competitive, some of us may not. Some of us just may not want to be in amongst certain competitions regardless what it may be. You know, some of us may want to just stay put and not want to compete, just in case of the avoidance of any certain changes that may result of that. Example wise, if we were deciding to compete in a job for, you know, the next step up in our ladder of employment, regardless what it may be, or a high wage, sometimes it can bring up a lot of change and whatnot. Another one is basically 5 is social embarrassment. Sometimes we just want to hide away, obviously, after making those form of mistakes, regardless what they may be. And also, last but not least, number 6 is your time restraints. Obviously, as we know, there is a set given time throughout the day, and therefore we need to do what we can to try and avoid being late, being able to do the tasks set at the right given formal manner. Well, this quickly ends the first one of the Autism and Perfectionism. Smash the like, comment below. Feel free to share these videos around to family and friends. Feel free to follow me on my social medias. Feel free to also turn on the notification bell if you have decided to subscribe to my channel so you can keep up to date with what I get up to. So not further ado guys, thanks for the support, thanks for watching. Do what you love what you do. Until next time, Aspie signing out, and I'll see you again soon. Ciao for now.